Welcome back. The Jeffrey Epstein investigation will be front and center this week on Capitol Hill. The House is set to vote on whether to hold former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in contempt for failing to comply with the House Oversight Committee's subpoena as part of the committee's investigation. Meanwhile, Congressman Ro Khanna, one of the authors of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, says the Justice Department's release of Epstein-related files is so far insufficient and is threatening to move forward with contempt and impeach proceedings against Attorney General Pam Bondi if more files are not released.
We are trying to give the Justice Department some benefit of the doubt. They did do a release that was significant. I mean, this is the most documents that we have seen released so far in history, but it is not good enough. And so Thomas Massie and I have requested a meeting with the Deputy Attorney General. He said he's open to meeting with members of Congress. He's said he's open to explaining why the redactions were done. So I hope that we will have a meeting. If we don't get the remaining files, if we do not get the remaining 302 forms, the remaining prosecution memo from 2019, and if the survivors are not happy, then Thomas Massie and I are prepared to move on impeachment or contempt.
Joining me now is Congressman Suhas Subramanyam, a Democrat from Virginia and a member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. I want to start first with your reaction to what you've learned since the Justice Department's release of the Epstein files on Friday. I know this is something that you've been closely monitoring.
Yeah, even by their own admission, they withheld about 2.5 million files. And their excuse is that it was to protect the victims. But I don't really know who exactly they're protecting, because even the files that they released had identifying information about victims. And so they said last March that they had the files ready to release. And we've been looking for certain things in all of their releases, like victim statements and interviews that they had during the investigation, or prepared indictments that were shelved to give Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal. We haven't found any of the key evidence that we've been looking for. And so they're clearly withholding things and continuing the cover up, but we're going to continue our investigation and move forward with it regardless of how this administration acts.
And are you frustrated enough at this point that you're prepared to move to some sort of impeachment or contempt charge against Attorney General Pam Bondi?
Yes, we actually, on our committee, the Democrats moved to hold Pam Bondi in criminal contempt because the Republicans, one, were trying to do the same to the Hillary and Bill Clinton, but also because she has violated the law repeatedly. And so now we're in a place. Todd Blanche now, I think, is someone else that we're looking at because, in addition to being the president's former personal attorney, and then, after we're talking to Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to a minimal security prison, he's saying that this investigation is over, even though he's still in clear violation of the law. So I think Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi should certainly be held in contempt at this point, and we're going to keep pushing and putting pressure on them to release the files.
You mentioned the Clintons, and as a member of the committee, you know that the House Oversight Committee has voted to hold the Clintons in contempt of Congress. You voted against that resolution. And can you explain why you decided to vote yes? And now that these motions appear to be going to the floor, how will you vote in that respect? And why do you view it differently than your belief that the Attorney General should be held in contempt?
Yeah, so to be clear, I voted for the Clintons to be held in civil contempt because I want to put pressure on them to come before a committee. I do want to hear what Bill and Hillary Clinton have to say. I don't think they have much to say. Hillary Clinton says she has never even met the guy, but Bill Clinton was in some of the photos that were released. And so I'd like to hear from him and what knowledge he has about Epstein's operation. But I voted against criminal contempt because this is clearly a ploy by the president to once again put his political enemies in prison and to go after his political enemies criminally. And we haven't held anyone else in criminal contempt. We haven't even tried. And we haven't even given the Clintons the opportunity to come before a committee and give us answers. They've offered to be deposed for 4 hours with a transcript and with multiple questioning lines, and yet the committee, the Republicans on the committee, keep moving the target and moving the goalposts, because I think it's pretty clear the president wants the Department of Justice people to go after the Clintons and put them in jail. So I think that's what this is really about, and I'm not going to be party to that.
But you do believe that at some point, Bill Clinton in particular should answer some questions about his involvement with Epstein, especially given the fact that his name has appeared repeatedly in these files.
Oh, 100%. And that's why I voted to subpoena him. I voted to hold him in civil contempt. I've still continued to call for him to come before a committee and testify. But look at how he's being treated compared to everyone else. I mean, Pam Bondi is violating the law. Other witnesses have been given written statements like the Clintons did, and been told that that's all that we needed by this majority on the Oversight Committee. And so they're clearly treating the Clintons differently because they're political opponents of the president. And so I'm not going to be party to the president trying to go after his political enemies and put them in jail, which is what's happening right now across the country.
And then finally, the Oversight Committee, finally on this topic, I should say, is conducting its own investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Do you think the committee should also conduct a separate investigation into how the DOJ has handled the release of the Epstein files? And if the Democrats were to win the majority, would that include issuing subpoenas and hauling some of these cabinet members before Congress to answer questions?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this investigation is not just about the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed. It's also about the cover-up and why he was able to get away with it and commit more crimes and expand his criminal operation. And so we don't want this to ever happen again. And we certainly want to make sure that people can trust their government institutions and not feel like they're powerless when the most powerful are committing crimes and not being held accountable. And so we're going to continue this investigation, regardless of whether Republicans join us. They've joined us on some occasions, but when the president is involved, they seem to stick with the president on many issues. But we're certainly going to continue our line of questioning. We're going to continue our investigation, and there's much more to come. So Todd Blanche thinks this is over, but this is only the beginning.
All right, so we are on day 3 of a partial government shutdown. The hope is that it's a short-term shutdown, especially for someone, I'm sure, who covers a district like you do with a lot of federal employees. How are you going to vote on Senator Schumer's deal that he hatched with the White House on these 5 appropriations bills and then a 2-week extension of DHS funding? Will you vote yes once it gets to the House floor?
Well, right now, the Rules Committee is debating whether to put them all in one vote or separate them again. But I have concerns about Department of Homeland Security and the way Secretary Noem has basically operated immigration enforcement. I mean, we have seen a complete and utter chaos all across the country because of her. And so to ask me to fund the ICE and DHS after all that has happened is a very difficult ask. And I have separate concerns as well about Secretary Hegseth and the way he's operating DOD. And so I've actually voted against these 2 packages already. And unless I see some changes, I plan to vote against them again. I know there's a lot of federal workers and contractors in my district, and I want to make sure that we avoid a shutdown. I want Republicans to come to the table with us and try to figure this out. And I'm really sick, honestly, of these shutdown fights, because we should be passing budgets. That's one of the main sort of things that Congress should be doing. It's one of our main jobs. And we shouldn't be holding federal government employees to task and have them suffer just because, we are having these fights on Capitol Hill. And so I hope that we can change the system moving forward.
But Congressman, respectfully, I mean, the House and Senate were prepared to pass all 12 appropriations bills as close to the normal process as it can go. It's obviously several months delayed. And it was Democrats who raised a red flag over the DHS funding. Isn't that what you're doing here, holding government funding hostage to elicit a policy goal? I'm not saying that's a bad or a good thing, but isn't that how this situation is playing itself out?
I would give you another perspective, which is that they are putting really bad policy before us and telling us if you don't pass this, then it's shutdown time, and we don't mind having a shutdown. If Republicans actually want to be collaborative and work with us on these budgets and work with me on these budgets, my office is open, my door is open. I've set forth some things that I wanted to see, some changes I wanted to see on ICE, on DOD, and the way in which some of these agencies are conducted. I have many of the federal workers that live in my district that tell me all the time what's going on at these agencies, and they've had it. And so they want to see us use our leverage to put pressure on this administration to change. And this is one place where we can do it. But I think the system, though, is failing because the reality is I think federal workers and contractors should get paid regardless of what happens during these budget fights.
Okay, Congressman, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.